Welcome to the review of Police Quest 1, In Pursuit of the Death Angel. It was developed and published by Sierra Online in 1987. It utilized Sierra's AGI engine, which uses EGA graphics, limited to 16 colors. There was a remake later on, which used their SCI engine and VGA graphics. This is the EGA version of the game. It's an adventure game, much like the King's Quest series. If you haven't watched my review on King's Quest, I would suggest you do that first. You play as a character, Sonny Bonds, and you work for the Lytton Police Department in California. You'll notice many similarities as the King's Quest series. You type your instructions in the bottom of the screen. At the top there's the scoreboard. You also have the typical menu where you can see the About box, save and restore games, etc. They give you quite a few slots in order to save games, and you can type in whatever name you want. You can also, of course, see your inventory and even look at individual items in your inventory and get a little graphic. One added feature is you can also use the dispatch. Well, you are a police officer after all. So you walk around and of course use the look command quite a bit. In this case we're looking at the newspaper, and you'll see the screen flips to this reading view where you can page up and page down the newspaper. One minor annoyance in the game is you're given clues, but the clues are very bad. So you are basically confused trying to figure out what to do. In this case, we're supposed to figure out where we're supposed to sit. So I try to walk around these desks and I'm not having any luck. So then the Sergeant Dooley yells at me, tells me to sit down in my place. So once again I try another spot, and there it tells me is where I should sit. So Dooley begins the briefing, tells you what the quest is, or at least your first quest, and you have instructions. There is one feature in this game which is different than King's Quest. You actually have a memo notebook where you can write down notes. So we walk around, there's a pigeonhole on the right. You can look in there to get your mail. It very much does have a feel that you're working as a police officer. That's one of the great things about the game. Sierra always does a great job of sucking you into their world. And of course, no Sierra game is complete without some humor. So here we're in the locker room. And here's our first humorous quip. Don't get too close to the cleaning lady. So once you find your locker, you discover that you can take your equipment out. Yeah, everything's not quite to scale. I like how the shirts and pants are so tiny compared to the briefcase and the towel. So you can take your equipment. If you take the towel, it automatically puts everything else back in the locker. You can also look inside a briefcase and take the items out of that. So here's another humorous piece. Grunts and groans encourages you to leave the area. And another humorous piece. You have to take a shower. Notice how the towel automatically gets picked up when you try to walk to the left. This isn't Leisure Suit Larry anyway. You'll spend a lot of time exploring different screens. Here we're in the computer room. And this is the narcotics office. Sierra did a great job of really making it feel like a police department. They always do such a great job with their graphics, even when there's only 16 colors. And then of course there's the parking lot where you can see various squad cars and your Corvette. So you have to say open door, get in car, very tedious, close door, and then you're ready to drive. That's right, you actually get to drive in this game. Pretty sweet, huh? Oh, but be prepared to crash. Happens a lot. Luckily, as I mentioned earlier, there is a restore game. So crashing isn't the only way to lose the game. If you don't follow procedures, you will lose. For instance, here we got a flat tire because I did not perform the walk around of my vehicle. So how do you do that? Well, you just basically walk around the vehicle. You have to do it every time you're going back out on the road. That's one of the annoying things about the game. Quite a bit of tediousness. So here I'm trying to drive up onto a driveway and I crash. Find out the hard way you can't go up driveways. You can also crash into cars. And you can be killed by thugs. And you can also be shot. Ooh, did you see that blood? Pixelated death. Always fun. So the driving portion of the game gives it a little bit of an action feel. Especially when you're going faster in order to catch a criminal. So you can drive around any direction you want. As you pass to other screens, you'll notice at the top it changes the map position. This is handy to know where you're at and help prevent you from getting lost. You can speed up the game speed, which makes it much harder to control your car. They also try to give it a little 3D feel, where you can go underneath bridges. You can look around to see what's important in the screen. And there's also traffic lights, which you must obey. So here we're waiting for this red light to turn green. And incidentally, the cars behind you will actually stop when you stop if they're right behind you. In fact, they'll sit there forever. Even if the light's green, they'll just patiently sit behind you. Maybe they're afraid of getting a ticket. So this is just an example of us running a red light. I guess it's not like real life because cops do it all the time in real life. So eventually you'll get a dispatch call telling you what you need to do. So once you translate their message and figure out where you're supposed to be, you finally get out of the car and have some real action. So in this case, we're investigating an accident. So this is where the game starts getting fun, and it becomes mysterious. You have to gather clues and try to figure out what's happened. You can go over to the car and look inside. You can talk to various bystanders. And once you discover what the real problem is, or at least what you suspect the problem is, then it's time to use the radio and call in for help. In this case, you suspect a homicide. So as you're waiting for help to arrive, you can continue to chat with some of the bystanders and try to gather more facts. And of course, as you progress in the game, your score increases. You'll notice we're at 38 out of 245 potential points. The game won't let you walk off the screen. It is quite limiting, unlike the King's Quest games where you can walk all around. So finally another officer arrives, you give him the information, and then you're going to be back on the road. And then it's just a waiting game, waiting for the next set of instructions. The Police Quest series has much more tediousness than the King's Quest series. So now we play the waiting game, and eventually you're given the other set of instructions. In this case, we're supposed to meet a friend. So here we're having a cup of coffee. Let's slam it down. You'll also have to chase cars sometimes. Here we turned on our lights and tracked down this red car that just ran a red light. I love the background graphics. Again, Sierra does a wonderful job of making it feel like a real world. So now we're going to approach this driver and see what happens. Ah, this has very much a Leisure Suit Larry feel to it. And of course it's quite humorous. I'm sure as a kid you could have a lot of fun with this game. Trying to figure out how to reply when she's trying to flirt with you. Helen Hotz. But, of course, if you want to win the game, you have to play it by the book. I know, it's no fun. Doesn't mean you can't try a few other things and restore the game. So, you can give her a ticket, be on your way. You'll run into obstinate bikers. Yeah, a lot of cliche things in the game. So these guys are hogging up parking spaces with their bikes in front of the cafe next door. So you have to encourage them to leave. And you'll be taking quite a few people to jail. So once you find where the jail is, get them out, walk them up, and lock them up. But you do have to be careful how you do everything, because if you do it wrong, the game will be over. And one of the interesting things about this game, you can make a mistake quite a while back and not know it, and then pay for it later, and your game will end. So you get this guy locked up. You'll find another guy, lock him up. Remember how I mentioned if you make a mistake, you may pay for it later? Here's an example. I didn't lock the gun locker door, so someone took my keys and stole the squad car. Game over. You can even play the game out of your uniform. Here we're getting into our Corvette and heading away from work. You'll notice now when I'm driving, it's the little blue car. And we head to a party for some more 4-bit pixel fun. Hoochie Coochie Hannah. That's one lucky dude. So in closing, I'd just like to say the game was very enjoyable to play. It had a feel very much similar to King's Quest, Black Cauldron, Gold Rush, and all the other Sierra Adventure games. One of my gripes about the game, though, is it is very linear, and you can't explore nearly as much as you can in, say, King's Quest. There's events that happen, so that helps you walk through the game. Very interesting. And of course, there's a lot of humor. You can get into a lot of trouble in the game too, which is always fun. It has a good amount of music, and it varies quite a bit, especially for using the PC speaker. And they've even programmed for some quite humorous phrases that you type in. There is some quirkiness, like getting caught behind this door. It automatically opens, but then you can't go out of it unless you're positioned correctly. Or tripping up some people, where the computer tries to automatically move them, and if you're in their way, they stop. And it's kind of annoying how you do have to follow all the police procedures by the book. Otherwise, your game will be over. And you can tell it was around the time where the war on drugs was starting, because they're really pushing anti-drug. It gets quite annoying, actually. You can look inside and see objects in trunks and briefcases. That's kind of interesting. Gives it more of a mystery feel. Of course, your character is no Columbo, but that's what makes it kind of humorous, that he does mess up a lot, and he feels kind of like a rookie. The driving's a nice touch, adding a little action into the game. And there's a decent amount of other characters in the game that you can interact with. And again, the graphics were EGA, but they did an excellent job making the environments feel real. And of course, you have 4-bit Pixel of Death. So that wraps up this review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.